Hello, everybody. Happy Friday to you. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Nation News, and we have an update to the Clayton Echard paternity scandal. Yesterday, he dropped a bombshell press release. We covered it here on our channel. In fact, I believe we broke the news. We've got that press release right here for you, and we now have an update from one Janeth Doth the Dodo Bird III. So his press release, of course, accurately describes at least their chain of timelines as far as it went from conception, from blowjob to conception, a new tell-all. Have that on a TEDx talk. But either way, you know, he talks about what they believe to be medical fraud, that she admitted to doctoring images. However, here's where they say it, right? So we're going to get to her response in a second. In typical Jane Doe fashion, she decides not to address what the wild part of the story is, which is that she doctored images. The only thing she says is, I tested positive, so nothing else you can say here. You can look in the thing. I've got the pregnancy test right here, folks. I peed on it. It's positive. What do you need from me? Nothing to see. Wrap it up. Let's just move it on with our day. What do you get? Okay, so obviously that's not what's going to happen. Some medical records are already part of the public domain, and that was why Clayton's team thought it was perfectly fine to share the lack of medical records. Judge said, don't share any real medical records, and of course, Woodnick Law was like, well, then I guess we'll share all the fake ones. That being that she, forged, they say here, forged trademarks. So they're accusing her of forgery. Southwest Medical Imaging did not image Jane Doe for pregnancy, and their legal department is fully aware of the arts and craft forgery. Will they, of course, medical records are very important. There's for tax reasons, for fraudulent reasons, for lawsuits, and, for all the, insurance reasons, you need to have your medical records. They're all time-stamped and this and that. So what's interesting to me, though, is that this doesn't even take into account the actual fraud of pretending to have a ultrasound that's not yours. I think this is a completely different ultrasound they're talking about. I don't think this is the same one. Either way, we could get in, because look, I mean, and again, I'm going to read some of your comments here, so I know we're going to be a little bit all over the place in this video. I wasn't necessarily prepared to talk about the moment, the sort of fraud that was exposed from the flock. As we know, the flock exposed fraud, and we sort of just aired it on our channel here, and it all came out. I'll play the TikTok for you, the Instagram for you, but it all came out at the same time, that being that she had a fake ultrasound. So let me find out where that is right here. So here's the actual ultrasound that we showed was fake. Again, with the help of the flock. Not just with the help of the flock. They did all of the labor and hard work to find this. Now, I guess the question is, this, which of course she claims to be hers. Oh, it does say SMIL. Oh, okay, guys, apologize. It's a Friday. So this is the fraud that she's admitting to. This is SMIL. When we look at, I thought this was when you hear ultrasound video versus ultrasound imaging. So this is where records from Southwest Medical Imaging were tampered with by Jane Doe. She admitted that she altered medical records and falsely attributed them to Southwest Medical Imaging. So not only did she doctor this top part, which, by the way, we knew that's what she did. I believe we're going to find out how she did that, and maybe that'll come out in the deposition. Like, why? So when you look at this document, there's no moving timestamp here. Any medical video would show a moving timestamp. When I first found this was when my wife and I, going through our pregnancies, and we thought, man, maybe when you print the ultrasound, it timestamps the time code and it doesn't actually share. No. She had to replace the time here because, of course, it was outdated. It says General Electric and GA. I don't know if any of this is true here, but also it said her name. It said Jane Doe, and it should have said Doe, Jane. Any medical records, they're all kind of standardized with the way it's all done. And of course, so we knew that this was fake, but now we're finding out that not only was it a fake ultrasound, but she didn't just steal the ultrasound. She admits to the part where she actually added SMIL to it, which is very interesting. Of course, there's Clayton dancing on the fabricated graves here of the fake babies. But it's very interesting here because, it's one thing to catch someone for like faking, I passed this off as my own, but the depths in which she'll go to pass that off as her own, that's the fraud. Not just saying, oh, this is mine, but going, so the idea that you're have some psychotic issue where you think you're pregnant, so you get a test that says you're pregnant, and you just believe you're pregnant. That's one thing, and then it's another to go, I'm going to open my Photoshop. I am going to choose the correct font. I'm going to choose the correct color. I'm doing all of this knowing full well that that's not your thing. Now, that ultrasound was sent to some journalists, Reality Steve and myself, to, I guess, further prove her point that she was pregnant. What she might not have assumed is that we'd share that publicly. And by the way, she actually didn't share it with me. She shared it with Reality Steve, a journalist, and then he shared it with me because that's what you do. You swap notes. Why did she send it to him and not me? Well, because he does an audio-based program where you might not see all the specifics. So she got really good at sharing lies that at least could convince people on a one-to-one level. But when you share that publicly, like we've shared everything, the idea is that you'll have the bandwidth of the internet to go, that's not how it's done. So it looks good to me. I mean, that ultrasound looked good to me. You go, oh, it's got her name on it. But then that ultrasound, when about 1,000 different nurses look at it in our audience, they go, wait a second. No, this wouldn't be there. That wouldn't be there. SMIL. So she went to this imaging place. And because, honestly, this is what's interesting. If she didn't put SMIL on the top of it, it would have still been fake. But you might not have known where it came from. Now, of course, we've exposed where it came from. It came from this YouTube channel and all of that. But, now that she put SMIL, it's just one more brand that can be contacted to say, well, we'd like to get the HIPAA records for her. We've signed it off with the judge. And then, of course, at that moment, you can realize, she thought in order to convince people it was hers, she would use actual places you could Google search. But the problem with that is that means the lawyers can actually call those places and request paperwork that doesn't exist. Little to no evidence that she ever went to Southwest Medical Imaging. So either way, they finally printed stories, getting on the right side of what happened, which was that it's a sham pregnancy. The very end of this story here, we have Jane Doe's response, which of course we're going to play for you guys. And by the way, just so you guys know, I will be live right after this at 12:30 p.m. Central Time. I did want to give a shout out to everyone who's been so supportive. This is our free Patreon. There is a free segment of the Patreon. The free version just came out. They just started doing this. So you can see in September, we had no free members, and then we learned about it. And next thing you know, we've got 1,500 free members. Now, the free members don't get the private behind-the-scenes live streams, but I am giving them content. I'm giving them as much access as I can, additional to the things you get on YouTube. Now, as far as paid members go, guys, I mean, you've absolutely voted with your dollar. You've helped journalism. You've helped justice by putting some bread in the tip jar and supporting my channel as we've had to face, I don't want to say financial hardship, but emotional hardship, as we've had to deal with all of her accusations and claims and PR and all. I mean, to the point where at some point we may take some of these dollars, if audience wants us to, and try to reopen a court case to look at Chase J. Jones, to continue to piece the pictures of fraud together. Now, that's a conversation for another date and time, but I don't want people to think that we're just letting this go, because if we do let it go the way that former victims did, we know in a year from now or 2 years from now or 5 years from now, it'll rear its ugly head. She'll create some new fan fiction story about how she was the victim of this and that. We know that to be the case. So while a lot of people go, oh, the story's over, she's admitted to it, it's over. No. Here's her comment. The unnamed woman told Us Weekly in a Thursday statement, my pregnancy was definitely confirmed on June 1st, 2023 by an urgent care facility. Now, let's discuss which urgent care facility this is. I believe the only way that you could not give out this information is if you claim, oh, I didn't give them my info when I went in. Imagine, and I know the healthcare system's a little messed up. Imagine a scenario where you don't have to give your information. And also, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? So the only claim she can really make here is that, I went to Planned Parenthood in Albuquerque, but I didn't tell them who I was, and they gave me abortion pills. Yeah, sure, fat chance that that's happening. So it seems as though as she's been caught on her lies in multiple angles, she continues to backtrack her story. I mean, December she was pregnant. Then in January she said, well, she found out in November she no longer was pregnant. So she's going all the way back to what, June 1st here? You know what I mean? Listen, the boner's barely broken by this point, and here we are. I mean, days after the blowjob happens. I'm searching for a sort of respectful metaphor here, and I don't have one. But either way, the Sun, who created this whole mess, also discussed it. Fraud bombshell, Bachelor. What a great merch shirt. Fraud bombshell, and it's just like busty. The busty fraud. Bachelor Clayton Echard's ex-fling. Could you call it that? Has admitted to fraud and forging pregnancy records after paternity test scandal. The woman was supposed to give birth in February. So let's see if their article, and by the way, I don't know if this is the same one. Why don't we do this? Let's go to what was said by the Sun, Clayton Echard, their first article, because their first article from September 18th, let's see who wrote this one, was by Deanna Cooper. I don't know why they didn't have the same author. They should have the same author cover it consistently, but maybe we have a different point of view. Clayton was accused of fathering the woman's unborn twins in 2023. We know that. The anonymous woman claims she had a one-night stand. Again, he says the only blowjobs. He actively fought against the accusations in December. The woman said she was no longer pregnant, but no details were released. On Thursday, Reality Steve posted a statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, from Clayton that stated she was never pregnant. I broke the story! Now, we love Reality Steve, but where's a little credit, the Sun? Come on, son, you're shitting all over me over here. We're over here doing the Lord's work, and you can't even give us a little credit, a little bone thrown our way? Come on, folks. I've never read this before, but at least Reality Steve got some credit. That's good. The statement, and maybe he got it from the same press release, but either way, the statement claims that claims of a doctor confirming the pregnancy are patently false. A telemed video appointment with a neurologist is not pregnancy confirmation. Fans have his back. Fans on social media had a lot to say about Clayton's recent statement and the new information. They go on and on. Before the confirmation in January, Clayton's ex-fling claimed she's no longer pregnant. 4 months after he was accused of fathering the woman's unborn twins, she made a bombshell claim in an Arizona court. On December 28th, the ex-fling filed a motion to dismiss with prejudice her petition that was initially filed in August to establish paternity. He, of course, filed a motion to, prove paternity. The 33-year-old podcast host from Scottsdale, Arizona, noted in the documents, petitioner acknowledges that she is no longer pregnant, and everyone's like, well, why? What's the story? And she's like, well, we'll discuss it later. The petitioner further described her current state as not now pregnant. She initially said she expected to give birth to twins on February 14th. There was no explanation given as to what had happened during the supposed pregnancy. The Sun has reached out to the petitioner for comment. So let's see if the Sun hasn't heard back. Of course, she already gave comment. And look, people have sent us DMs they sent to her, which I don't recommend. Don't send her DMs. No one needs to contact her. Let the depositions play out in the court system. We can watch this train wreck from afar. But I do have to say, she might just never admit to it, but that's okay. Every single time she says she tested positive or whatever for pregnancy, let's get the medical records. Please, if you tested positive on June 1st, we'd love to know why. And you know what? Maybe some sort of chemical test did test positive due to fertility medication, hormones, some wild scenario. As we've seen from the previous strategy by Jane Doe, she was very confident before she got pregnant that she could test positive. She almost knew at the 11th day she would test positive, like she did to previous victims she accused of the same thing. We made a plea yesterday for other victims to come out, and I know you would love to hear me share a story where that plea was met with people coming out. No, we know of at least one person out there that doesn't necessarily want to come forward, even though multiple sources tell us that they had similar accusations made against them. And when you look at yesterday's video, this is an absolute bombshell. 21,000 views. Everyone within a 10-mile perimeter of her, everyone she's worked with, everyone that's been a podcast guest that's covered the story, psychologists, psych evaluators, nurses, moms, everybody's been following this. So my hope is to this man in San Francisco, please come forward, help the case out to show the sort of targeted attacks, the control aspect, and all of the emotional abuse that goes into whatever punishment she wanted people to pay. Come forward to me. We'll redact your name. We'll tell your story. We know you're out there. We know your name. We know your email. We've said it in the past. I'm just telling you right now. Come forward, share a little bit, help them continue to build their case. I'm not asking for lies. I'm asking for the truth. Let it surface. But respectfully, I understand why you don't want to be attached in this shame spiral of a story. I get it. But if you don't mind, let's put an end to this so that it never happens again. Let me know what you think. I'll be live 12:30 Central Standard Time, and I'll see you then. Bye, everyone.